Hey everyone, it's Ethan or Miist back again for another video today. Welcome back to the channel, guys. We're here again for yet another video. We're going to be talking about every movie I watched last week, and I had a really good week. I ended up watching a lot of movies, although pretty much every movie was under like an hour and 40 minutes. So they were short movies, but I watched a lot of movies. I watched 22 movies last week, which is one of my best weeks of the year. But I feel like I didn't even really watch much this week because there was not a lot of diversity. There was like 3 franchises that I watched through this week, sorry. I think 18 of my 22 movies were franchises. Or only 3 franchises. So, yeah, let's get into it. Starting it off with one of the franchises, one of my least favorite movies ever made now, which is Hotel Transylvania Transformania. I was going to say Transformia. This got inserted into the bottom 10 list of all time, ranked at a nice 5 out of 100. I really did not enjoy this franchise whatsoever. I think it's genuinely the worst franchise I've ever seen. There's 4 movies, and all of them are just awful. One of them is okay. The other 3 are actually awful. And we'll be talking about that here soon. But yeah, didn't like this at all. Ranked at a 5 out of 100. Let's move on to the first Hotel Transylvania, which I also did not enjoy. Ranked at a 22 out of 100. And yeah, this was no fun at all. Let's move on to the other franchise of the week, which is the Saw franchise, starting it off with my least favorite, which is Spiral from the Book of Saw, which I ranked a 30 out of 100. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on these Saw movies because a lot of them just blend together, but yeah, this is, I believe, number 9. I ranked it a 30 out of 100. It's my least favorite of the franchise. And let's move on to Hotel Transylvania 2, which I ranked a 33 out of 100. I also did not enjoy this movie, although I feel like the original trilogy actually got better each time, which is probably a hot take, but yeah. Let's move on to Saw 3D, which I rank a 35 out of 100. I'm trying to even remember what... Yeah, I really don't remember much from this movie, I'm not going to lie. Especially because on Tuesday last week, I watched half of this franchise. On Monday, I watched the first 2 Saws, and then on Tuesday, I watched Saw 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, I believe. So, yeah, I grinded through that franchise very quickly, and yeah, a lot of these just blurred together, I think. So, yeah. Let's move on to Saw 5, which I ranked a 40 out of 100. It's fine. This was like almost okay. Let's move on to Hotel Transylvania 3 Summer Vacation, which is my favorite of the franchise, which I ranked a 41 out of 100, which is really sad. A good old 2-star as my favorite of the franchise. So yeah, didn't fuck with this franchise at all. Let's move on to Saw 6, which I ranked a 45 out of 100. Yeah. Let's move on to Saw 4, which I ranked a 45 out of 100 as well. This is where the franchise kind of takes the dip, although we kind of have some like up and down motion throughout the rest of the franchise after the 4th one. And yeah, also 45 out of 100. Let's move on to the other franchise, which was the Psycho franchise, and my least favorite of the 4 films was Psycho 3, which I ranked a 56 out of 100. It was okay. I definitely don't think it's bad. It was okay, nothing too special. It was a weird kind of killer situation, but yeah, 56 out of 100. Let's move on to Dead Silence, which is kind of a goal of mine to watch this year because I want to go through more of James Wan's filmography, hence the Saw also this week. Just kind of went through The Conjuring again last week, and I think this week I'll probably do Malignant. And I feel like and hopefully Insidious. We'll see. I was supposed to do Insidious last week with some friends, didn't get to. Hopefully I'll get to do that this week. We'll see. But yeah, Dead Silence, it's fine. Ranked at a 58 out of 100. It's okay. You can definitely see some early like genius of James Wan. This did come out after Saw, where Saw is definitely much more of a thriller mystery. slasher than, What Dead Silence is. Definitely a horror movie. So, yeah, there's some interesting stuff here. It's just okay. Let's move on to Psycho 4 The Beginning, which I ranked as 60 out of 100. Really, I think there's a great performance here from Anthony Perkins and some interesting themes that are being tackled in this film as well. Generational trauma, parental abuse, I guess maybe even sexual abuse, you could say. And yeah, this is a very interesting prequel to this franchise. The semi-prequel, semi-sequel, so it was cool. Plus, I kind of like the way that this franchise ends, which I'm glad, it ended on a high note, I would say. We're going to get a 60 out of 100. Well, let's move on to Saw 10, which I also ranked as 60 out of 100. This is fine. I think I would like to rewatch the Saw franchise at some point and do it in timeline order, which will be kind of weird to do because there's so many going back in time in the reveal at the end of the movie. But yeah, 60 out of 100. Saw 3, I ranked a 61 out of 100. This was probably the most grim that I could remember. I remember this one being really quite crazy and quite gory. And I mean, that's kind of what this franchise is. And even though it's called Saw, the first movie poster is literally just a limb. I don't think I really ever expected this franchise to be as gory as it was. And it very much is. So, yeah. Let's move on to Jigsaw, which Jigsaw seems to be that movie that is super polarizing in this franchise. A lot of people love this movie. A lot of people hate this movie. I feel like I'm kind of more on the higher end than most people. I ranked it a 3-star, 62 out of 100. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the twist. It does seem kind of weird that John just decided to save one of his victims, but I guess he saved him because he was actually there kind of on mistake. So, it's fine. But yeah, this is definitely not bad. I really enjoyed the end too, actually. So 62 out of 100. And then let's move on to Saw 2, which I ranked a 70 out of 100. Thought it was good. A pretty worthy sequel as well. And honestly, I think the original trilogy of this franchise is a solid horror trilogy. Not the best, but I think it's solid. Ranked Saw 2 a 70 out of 100. Let's move on to Fast and Furious, which me and my friends had taken a big break from since Tokyo Drift in this franchise. So we're going to hopefully watch Fast 5 maybe this week, which is my favorite of the franchise. And then we're probably going to take another break. But I hope we get to finish this franchise before the end of the year. We'll see. But anyways, this is where the fun begins, in my opinion. And I personally like the Fast and Furious movies. This is what I grew up on. Maybe it's nostalgia. But yeah, we're about to start to get to the good ones. So 5, 6, and 7 are peak Fast and Furious. I think everyone knows that. But yeah. Well, let's move on to Psycho 2, which I ranked a 74 out of 100. Also a pretty good movie. This is a really surprisingly well-made legacy sequel. We don't get a tremendous amount of great legacy sequels. And I'm like, the only great legacy sequel that really comes to mind right now in recent memory is Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I guess you could consider maybe Prey to be a legacy sequel, which I love that movie. I guess Alien Romulus, kind of, which is also great. But yeah, I don't know. This was a surprisingly well-made legacy sequel that we definitely don't get nowadays. So yeah, enjoyed it. 74 out of 100. Let's move on to Psycho, which I ranked a 81 out of 100. I do feel like I would like to rewatch this movie because I feel like my 4-star review is rather low for this movie. This is my first experience with an Alfred Hitchcock film as well, and I really enjoyed it. I just I think I felt a little underwhelmed when I finished it, so I'm hoping maybe a rewatch someday and I'll enjoy it more. But I really enjoyed the end and that twist. I really enjoyed that. 81 out of 100. Let's move on to The First Saw, which I ranked at 83 out of 100. And surprisingly enough, even though I did enjoy this movie, James Wan is of course great. Surprisingly enough, this is one of my least favorite James Bond films. I think it's my second least favorite, or I guess my third least favorite since of the I think seven that I've seen of his films. So that's quite surprising. But this is a pretty great movie and definitely a great way to start a franchise. And obviously, it spawned a big franchise, a very popular franchise as well. So people definitely love the Saw franchise, and this is a great way to start it. So 83 out of 100. Let's move on to The Long Walk, which I ranked in 86 out of 100. This is probably going to go down as one of my favorite Stephen King novel adaptations. I really enjoyed this. This is a great watch. Just cracks my list of top 10 of 2025 as well at number 10. Ranked it in 86 out of 100, like I said. I think there's some really great performances. I felt like the end was a little predictable. It's kind of how I expected it to go, but it was still really enjoyable, really great, and I had a great time with it. And yeah, I think my goal for this upcoming week, is to do a Stephen King week, because it is spooky season after all, and I definitely need to go through some of the films that I have not seen. So 86 out of 100 for The Long Walk. And let's move on to my favorite watch of the week, which was The Breakfast Club, which I ranked a 99 out of 100, up from a 97 to a 99 out of 100. And this movie surprised me because I was a little worried it was going to go down on a rewatch, since I haven't watched this since I think 2022. Even though I did have it a 5-star, 97 out of 100, I was a little worried it was going to go down. Ended up going up on rewatch, 99 out of 100. Plus, I get to see it in theaters for the 40th anniversary with my mom, who did show me this movie. We were supposed to go see The Sound of Music tonight, or I guess yesterday for you guys, for the 60th anniversary, but my mom is only home for a couple weeks, and she's going back to Ontario tomorrow early in the morning, so we didn't get a chance to. And I think there's only one other showtime this week, and I don't think I'll be able to go see it, and I didn't really want to go see it alone, to be honest, even though I do it all the time. But yeah, who knows, maybe I'll go see it this week, we'll see. But anyways, thank you guys all so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.